Good evening and welcome to the Hearthstone Half Hour. My name's Hammy from felcraft.org and I hope you've had a brilliant Christmas and are having a great New Year so far. I'm sorry for the delay in a few videos. I've had a bit of time with friends and family and generally just chilling out, so straight back to the videos, a little bit of time before we get back to work. So without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. We are going to be taking a bit of a look at Warlock from a beginner's perspective in Hearthstone. Now, I'm pretty new to Warlock. I've jumped into it in terms of playing a bit of Arena and really enjoying it so far. Tried to film this episode yesterday, microphone slightly unplugged. So, user error there. Need to check out your equipment before starting. In previous episodes, we have jumped into very quickly a few tips and tricks as to how you as a new player can try and get into the arena, start playing Hearthstone pretty quickly, pick up the classes pretty quickly if you're one of those impatient types who just needs to throw yourself in and get stuck in. So without further ado, let's jump into the game. As you can see in this arena run from yesterday, I'm 2 wins, 2 losses, so it could be a make or break, very quick episode in terms of whether I win and can continue or whether I lose, and all done. Before we get stuck in, we'll quickly review a couple of techniques that we discussed in previous episodes to show how you can easily get going in terms of being a new Hearthstone player and understanding decks quickly. So without further ado, when you're in the arena screen, whether you're drafting, whether you're even on that hero select screen to start with, or whether you are just simply picking your cards, or whether you're in the middle of an arena run, you can always hit back and you can go straight into my collection to show how you can. And when you jump into my collection, you can very quickly jump into the class that you're taking a look at. You can use crafting mode as well to show golden cards, and you can also jump in and see any cards that you may not have actually earned yet as well. So if you've never played a class and you jump into the arena, this is a very good way of just taking a quick look at what kind of basic mechanics the deck actually has. If I've never played it before, what do I do? What cards am I trying to draft? So with Warlock, the principle, as we can see here, is pretty simple. You have a lot of good cards in many ways. It's kind of like the Shaman's Overload mechanic. So if you haven't seen the Shaman's Overload mechanic, it will let you play a card, but the Overload mechanic will mean that you can't use a certain amount of mana crystals next go. So long story short, that means benefit now, and the next turn you're going to have some kind of setback, slightly negative effect, something that will slightly slow you down to keep it balanced. So Warlock is similar, and a lot of the Warlock mechanics involve discarding cards as being that little negative setback, that little balance point, or doing damage to yourself. So you can see things like, just going to lean over my microphone there and jump into the monitor. So you can see Succubus, for example, Battle Cry, discard a random card. That's one. And there you go, Taunt, Battle Cry, destroy one of your mana crystals with the Felguard, and that kind of mechanic too. Doomguard, discard 2 random cards if you're going to jump into that one as well. And then the Warlock power of Life Tap for the hero does 2 damage to yourself, but lets you draw a card. So keeping in vein with that kind of theme, if you're playing a Warlock, you can draw cards with your hero power, you can play some good powerful cards for less mana than they probably cost normally, but there's going to be some kind of negative setback. So playing as a Warlock is really managing those two. Are you discarding the wrong cards? Are you discarding the right ones? Are you doing too much damage to yourself, or are you not? So without further ado, let's just quickly jump into this arena game. I've been enjoying Warlock so far. It's got quite a few fun things to do. Warlock, because it gets going quite quickly if you have the right cards, I can imagine in a constructed deck, means that it probably lends itself well to quite control styles, a rush with some early minions, and healing yourself as well. Apparently there's a worthy opponent, so in we go. And I've got a warrior, so let's see what comes out here. So pretty simple whenever you take a look at your starting hand. Succubus, that's a pretty solid one to go with to start. I'm going second. There's no way that I'm going to get either of those 5 mana cards out quickly, so those 2 get swapped back into the deck, and I could have possibly traded that Power Overwhelming as well. I get an Acolyte of Pain, another Drain Life, I've got my coin, so a reasonable start. I've got quite a big hand there as well. I'm going to get some early pressure down with my Succubus. Let's see what I lose. I lose the Drain Life, so not ideal. Playing any of those discard cards, obviously a little bit better if you've got no cards in your hand, because then you're not going to discard anything. Let's see what this warrior comes up with. Welcome to those who have just joined us on the stream. And do always remember, if you're tuning in live on Twitch, log into Twitch, you can chat, you can ask questions, ask us stuff on Twitter, get involved. Novice Engineer comes out. In any arena run, if you're struggling for something at that sort of 2 mana point, Novice Engineer, never a bad draft, just so you can draw cards. But a draw power is always important. So, if you've never played Warlock before, you can see this theme continuing. You can see I had to discard a random card. That was my negative effect for my cheap 4/3 Succubus. The Flame Imp, you can see, he's a 3/2 minion for 1 mana, but then I have to deal 3 damage to my hero. So I'm going to get my Flame Imp down on the table. It's early in the game, I can take that hit. I'm also going to... I'm going to trade away that Novice Engineer to start with. So we've got the pressure on early game. I've got some good minions out there that I can do a bit of trading with. And there we go. Nice cleave from the warrior. 2 mana. Wipes out my early advantage. An Acolyte of Pain, just to keep things going, seems pretty sensible. And do remember, of course, I do have life tap Signa as well as my hero power, so if I feel comfortable enough to take another 2 damage, I can keep drawing cards. Silence. And some armour. So I can do a quick trade there, but sadly I'm not going to be drawing any cards with that Acolyte of Pain now. There's no need for a power overwhelming. I'm going to keep my card draw coming. And already in this game we've turboed into the mid game pretty quickly. So the warrior's got some armour down. He can destroy my minion with his Stampeding Kodo. And he's in a pretty solid position. Charge and Battle Cry, I can discard a couple of random cards. I can just about afford that at this point in time. Let's see what goes. A Sacrificial Pact, not ideal, but I can even out the table. And with my 5 attack and now 4 health Doom Guards, I'm in a strong position to put some pressure down. But he's traded away with his Elite 2. There we go. And that warrior just keeps stacking armour with armour up. So I'd say the warrior's nominally ahead at this point in time, because health-wise he's got a bit of a lead in that armour too as well. My Stampeding Kodo is not going to be doing much for me at this point in time. But I'm going to drop it to get the pressure on. An equally valid play then would have been to drop a life tap too. Corruption I'm keeping in my hand, because if he's got a big nasty minion, that's an easy way of getting it off the table. Shadow Flame is a good area of effect cleaner. I can destroy a minion and then do that damage to all enemy minions. So now I'm going to be taking him down in one go. The War Golem will put some pressure on. The Golem feels like a good play. I'm not going to be taking him out. 2 damage and restoring 2 damage. I can force him to attack with that next go if I drop a Corruption. And do some health. I'm going to try and keep this pressure on. If he suddenly drops a swarm with his Stormwind champion, I'm going to be in a little bit of trouble. Let's see how it goes. I've still got Shadow Flame as my sort of ace in the hole. He's decided to go for that trade. Cheeky heal. Stormwind champion, maybe dropping that Corruption would have been a better plan. Keep his half of the table in terms of minions a little bit less buffed. And a raid leader, he's really buffing everything up now. Shadow Flame will very easily let me get everything off the table. There we go. Good bit of clearance there. Gonna get that Cult Master as well. And life tap, because I do have a drain life in hand, so I can pick off a cheap minion and I can get a bit of health back. There were some better cards. Sadly I had to bin one of my good healing cards earlier. So, Warlock pros and cons. You might be discarding cards, you might be removing health. And the Emperor Cobra, that's a nice little minion. You can destroy any minion that it damages, regardless of its health. Ooh, and he buffs that up as well. This is looking pretty painful. Demon Fire will let me take some stuff out. I can discard a random card. Okay, with 9 I can pretty much clear the table there. So let's just double check this play. The way to do this combo to start with is to drain that life, deal the damage, and then Soulfire. I'll have to discard a card. There goes my corruption. I can draw another card. I'll get the Cult Master down. So, a quick turbo play there. The right order for that was making sure I played my other cards before I played the Soulfire, just so I didn't obviously discard one of the cards that I wanted to play and use. There's a painful minion, the Venture Cold Mercenary. Having my corruption would have been quite nice to get rid of that. Hellfire, I can. That was a misplay. I should have damaged with my. That was indeed a mistake. So what I should have done there, very foolish of me, was to actually attack first with my Cold Master to do that 4 damage, and then this Venture Co Mercenary would have been an Venture Co Mercenary. Now he's going to get healed. 8 damage, 8 and 4, that's not good. And now he's going to lay the pain down. And that could well be the game-ending mistake for me, though. I can just about keep this going a little bit longer. I'm going to take a risky life tap. At this level of health, 12 health now, every life tap is sending me towards the big discard pile in the sky. And here come the Murlocs. He's just going to swarm and put some pressure on. And with this much armour, this is pretty much good game. I've not been able to control his minions. I really can't afford to life tap at this stage because it's going to get very, very painful indeed. This is only going to stall me for a go. We can do 6 damage. Let's say 3 damage this go. There we go. Queuing up a bit of pain. 3, but he's got everything he needs to wipe me out next turn. The Ascension Shield Master is probably not going to help that. Let's see what he can do. I'm pretty sure, yeah, he's won. He can easily take out my Ascension Shield Master. Well played to you, sir. And after one incredibly chronic misplay, that's a defeat. As you can see, I've only just hit level 6, so that shows how new my Warlock is. And new cards, shiny. A couple of Soulfires, that will go into my constructed deck. And just to console ourselves with that 2-3, let's go and see what we've got. That shiny card pack opening moment that we always really love. 40 gold, it's going to help me back into the arena, almost, and a pack of cards. Before we do a little bit of a post-mortem on how that game went, and my abject failure to play 2 cards in the right order. It happens to all new players, you may laugh. Ice Barrier, ooh, I got Doom Gods, lovely. Very in theme with the Warlockness. And a Master Swordsmith, that's a cracking minion. Let's just go and do the whole disenchant thing. Do you remember, you can go into crafting mode and disenchant a rare. I've got another rare and another common, saving up that dust. So, in terms of intro to a very brief piece of Arena Warlock for new players, that gave you a lot of food for thought in 2 ways, I would hope. In terms of positive stuff, having a look at just some of the basic Warlock mechanics in action, life tapping to draw cards. Early on in that game I was playing some minions that Really showed off the core Warlock mechanic of the deck to a T, so all of the Warlock only cards. I'll just jump into the collection so we can have a quick look and show you some of those too. Things like the Flame Imp and the Battle Cry of dealing some 3 damage to my hero. If you take a look at that Flame Imp, for 1 mana, 3 attack and 2 health is very good, but naturally it's got that downside. We also had the Succubus, discarding a random card for the 2/4/3. I didn't really get full use of the Succubus either because of that cleave that the warrior did as well. And then we also saw, coming out later in the game, the Doom Guard. Charge and Battle Cry and discarding 2 random cards. So jumping into my collection, in terms of this little intro to Warlock, but also Arena and Warlock as well, for anyone new out there, you got to see some of those cards in action. And that core Warlock mechanic of you're going to get something good, but it's going to cost you in some way or another, whether it's life tapping to do damage to yourself and drawing cards, or playing pretty powerful cards but with some downside. You saw me HELLFIRE as well, dealing damage to myself too, just to cement the pain as well. Ooh, gold shiny Doom Guard. Sorry, I got distracted. And then in terms of a flip side, you saw a pretty typical misplay, or a typical example of something that when you're eager to get going and eager to get playing, you have a few problems with as well. Take your time. This is a card game. Remember that you've got plenty of time for each of your turns. So the thing that we saw me do there is I actually played a bad combination of cards. I HELLFIRE'd when I shouldn't have done. What I should have done is I should have used my Cultist and done 4 damage to his minion and then HELLFIRE'd afterwards. I would have killed my minion, but I also would have killed his. What I did was HELLFIRE first and kill my own minion so that it actually did nothing whatsoever. He then had an 8 damage minion out that really did me some pain, and maybe that extra 8 health or so would have kept me in the game a turn or 2 longer, maybe given me some more options. So I kind of sealed my own doom with one of those Warlock abilities there. So that was very short and sweet. Thanks very much for tuning into this episode. Next episode, I think we'll probably draft a new arena, as you can see. We will take a quick look and see what's going on. I'm going to need to just complete a quest or 2 and get myself back up to that magic gold figure so we can enter the arena. But we'll go into another new arena next, I think, and then we'll get back to the ladder, where in the ladder mode I'm sitting around about rank 16 at the moment and laddering through with Priest. So thanks very much for tuning in to what was more of a Hearthstone 20 minutes than a Hearthstone half hour. My name's Hammy, and just to sum everything up, let me go to my closing screen. There we go. So really appreciate any feedback you can give me, whether you've tuned in live on Twitch, seen the archive on Twitch, on YouTube, you found us through the website fellcraft.org. Above all, we just want to keep making videos, but make stuff that's really useful and interesting for you. So if you like it, let us know, like it, share it. Really gives me a passion to keep going. People enjoying the content is the main thing, and you as well. If there's anything that you'd like to see more of, or indeed anything you think is not so good, you'd like to see a bit less of, just drop us a tweet. We're on Twitter at fellcraftcasts. The twitch.tv, if you want to tune in live or subscribe there, is twitch.tv/failcraftcast. The website is failcraft.org, and we're on YouTube, youtube.com/failcraftcast. Love subscribes, love comments, just love to have that feedback, whether it's stuff that you think's good. By all means, we love a pat on the back as well, but also if you think there's things that could be improved. We're not perfect, but if you let us know what we can do better, then we very much hope to be